I'm not going to make this very long, but if you are a current shareholder in Lucid, which is one of the companies that a while back I suggested that you get into, specifically because electric vehicles are basically going to the moon eventually, you probably would have noticed that on Friday that there was a jump in the stock price of Lucid. Now it says in this story, shares of Lucid leaped after speculation arose that a Saudi Arabia fund might be planning to buy the shares of the EV maker it doesn't already own. Lucid Group (LCID) saw its shares nearly double on speculation that Saudi Arabia's public investment fund, the country's sovereign wealth fund, might be preparing to buy the shares it doesn't already own. The fund currently owns a 62% stake in the Newark, California producer of higher end EVs. At last check, the shares were up 45% as investors were eager for Lucid to receive a further infusion of capital. A report from Betaville speculating on the prospect of a deal could not be confirmed. The report has been cited by a number of media outlets. Lucid said it doesn't comment on speculation. Okay. Last November, Lucid said it conducted a $600 million at the market program and raised a total of $1.515 billion. That included $915 million that was raised through a private placement of 85.7 million shares with AR, Third Investment, an affiliate of the Public Investment Fund. Shares of Lucid fell by more than 50% during the past year as the company had lowered its production guidance in August for the remainder of 2022. Back in November 16, 2021, Lucid shares were trading for $55.52. On January 12th, the company said it produces 3,493 vehicles, up by 53% sequentially, and manufactured a total of 7,180 vehicles in 2022, beating its guidance of producing 6,000 to 7,000 vehicles. So, listen, I'm not going to read this entire thing because I really, really don't need to. So, what I will say is this. I think maybe I should say years ago, because back, I would say definitely in 2020, possibly as early as 2018. And I know before that, I had always been suggesting that you get into Tesla stock. And if you had gotten into Tesla stock when I was recommending it a long time ago, you definitely would have been up, even when Tesla right now with the rest of the economy is down. See, the problem is a lot of people are very impatient. A lot of people think that they're just going to get rich overnight. That's not how this works, or at least that's not how the stock market works. You really don't get rich overnight. What you have to do is you have to basically plant seeds and you have to wait for them to grow. Sometimes that growth might take 2-3 years. Maybe it could take 10. But the point is, in certain companies, planting those seeds almost guarantees growth. Now, there are some companies that entice you to, purchase their stock by giving you dividends. Those are the ones I absolutely like to go after. Those are the ones I recommend people go after. But the point of the matter is, electric vehicles are the next big thing. Now, it's anybody's guess how long it'll take to replace electric trucks. But one thing that is for certain is that electric cars are the next big thing. This government has shown you that it intends to move away from internal combustion vehicles. The government has shown you that by 2030, they intend for internal combustion vehicles to not even be allowed to be sold in the largest, most populous states. California, New York. They don't even want these things sold anymore. So the government is moving in that direction. The government has shown you, they said 2040, you won't even be allowed to sell trucks that are internal combustion. They also hinted at the fact that they literally want to take your gas-powered stove away. They're claiming that it causes asthma in children, and they're claiming that it causes cancer. Your gas stove, mind you, the thing that you've grown up all your life with. They're claiming that, it causes cancer in children and asthma and everybody, and yada, 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 yada. Now, let me simply say it like this. If they are telling you that your gas stove is causing asthma and cancer, There is absolutely nothing stopping them from saying your gas-powered dryer does too. If they say that, there's nothing stopping them from saying that your gas-fired water boiler causes cancer and asthma, and there's nothing to stop them from regulating those things out of existence. If you think about it, a water boiler lasts, what, 10, 15, maybe 20 years if you're lucky. Usually those things have to be replaced every 15 years, or at least they're supposed to be. Usually it takes them to absolutely fail before somebody's going to replace them because the expense of installing them is so high. Now, it's funny because in one of my houses, I don't have a water boiler. I have, what is it called? Oil heat. And that means that the water in the house has to go through a coil and it's heated by oil burning directly, right? So I think the jury's kind of still out on whether that's more efficient or less efficient. It probably is more efficient because, see, when you have a water boiler, you're still using electricity or you're using natural gas to heat the water that's in the house, one way or another. So, the jury's out on that one. Most people prefer natural gas around here because you don't smell oil burning. On top of that, it's the bills are smaller. For example, what was it? One of my last oil deliveries was, what was it? December 3rd. And then just yesterday, I got another oil delivery. And that was, what is it? January, basically give or take January 20th or so. So, no, wait, not January 20th. Yesterday. But the point is, oil's going away one way or another. They're going to get rid of it. That's the point. They're going to get rid of internal combustion vehicles one way or another. So the question is, do you want to be ahead of this or do you want to just be catching up to it? I've chosen to be ahead of it. I chose to buy shares in LUCID and Rivian and Tesla early on. I learned my lesson with Tesla, in fact, because you have to understand, Tesla was able to get where it got simply by having 4 relatively compliant and functional vehicles. So if they just needed 4 to do that, and then you have a company like Rivian who's already basically halfway there. They have the R1T and the R1S. Then you also have LUCID. They have the LUCID Air. And now they have like pretty much the fastest production sedan there is, which is called the LUCID Sapphire, which is fast enough to beat a Bugatti Chiron in a quarter-mile race. These electric vehicles have basically proven themselves. The only thing that we've been really having a problem with is autonomous driving and Chinese-made batteries causing fires. When production and quality control is improved on these things, chances are they will be a hell of a lot better. So the bottom line is, if you are a LUCID shareholder, you saw your stock increase very quickly. In fact, I responded to an email from someone who said, "Hey, what's going on with LUCID today?" And I didn't even recognize it until he sent the email. I didn't recognize it until I was told. And then I saw what was happening and I was like, oh, okay, this is great. Right now, I'm not really actively investing in anything because, as you know, the market is down. So I'm just feeling it out and watching and seeing what's falling where. Like, for example, Intel. Intel lost like $8 billion. Now, Intel is very important in the production of electric vehicles because obviously they make chips and these computers that go into most of these cars. Intel, AMD, NVIDIA, they all have some hand in these things. So when I see dips like that, when I see these sudden pronounced dips in companies like that, and Intel still pays a dividend, they pay like a 4% dividend. That tells me, those are a decent buy. But usually I do my investing pretty much usually during the beginning of April. And the reason why is because, I get tax return and I'm able to say, okay, I'm going to put this much of this money into certain companies. So that's basically it for that part of the story. If you ever want to know why we have certain political problems with certain countries, The one question you should always ask yourself is, what do those countries have that we want? And what do those countries have that someone would be willing to steal? Argentina, Bolivia, and Chile make up what's called the Lithium Triangle. Now, I don't know if you've heard that term before, but obviously, until battery chemistry changes to solid state or sodium or whatever, the reality is the Lithium Triangle is going to continuously come up. These three countries are going to continue to come up simply because people are very, very interested in them for the near future. If electric vehicles are to be the near future, then you can bet that people are going to be betting on the stocks related to these three countries. They say the lightest of metals may be causing the largest of impacts. Lithium, if I'm not mistaken, is number 3 on the periodic table. So, yes, it's very light. It's just a little bit heavier than hydrogen is 1, helium is 2, so it's just a little bit heavier than helium. 3 atoms, three protons, whatever. But anyway, lithium, which powers our phones, laptops, and electric cars, is essential to our battery-driven world. The demand for lithium has rapidly increased as the global market's annual consumption has risen by 8.9% annually. And now this, by the way, was back in 2020. This is January 2020. This was before we went into the COVID lockdown. Keep that in mind. So this was what, January, February, March? I think it was probably March 1st, if not the end of March I think it was March 19th. That's when we went into the COVID lockdown, March 19th. So this article was written in a world before COVID, slightly before COVID. So anyway, this demand will only intensify as hybrid and electric vehicles, energy storage systems, and portable electronics become increasingly widespread. While lithium has been found on each of the 6 inhabited continents, Chile, Argentina, and Bolivia together, referred to as the Lithium Triangle, hold more than 75% of the world's supply beneath their salt flats. So Bolivia, Argentina, and Chile have 75% plus of the entire world's supply of lithium. Now, add Venezuela into that, and now you have one of the largest oil reserves in the entire world. So obviously, South America is going to be a big player in the near future, obviously. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. The Lithium Triangle is one of the driest places on Earth, which complicates the process of lithium extraction. Miners have to drill holes in the salt flats to pump salty mineral-rich I'm mixing the words, mineral-rich brine to the surface. Then they let the water evaporate for months at a time, forming a mixture of potassium, manganese, borax, and lithium salts that is then filtered and left to evaporate once more. After between 12 and 18 months, the filtering process is complete, and lithium carbonate can be extracted. While lithium extraction is relatively cheap and effective, it begs the question of sustainability and long-term impact. That is to say, will lithium mining benefit the globe and its inhabitants, or will it entrench societal and environmental harm? Perhaps the Lithium Triangle will provide some answers. Now, I'm not going to read this entire thing. It's made by Harvard International Review. However, if you go on YouTube and you type up the Lithium Triangle, or if you go on Google and type the Lithium Triangle or any other website, it will automatically bring you exactly pretty much to where I am right now. So this is what I believe. What I believe, electric vehicles are coming up. Everybody is desperately wanting to get one. I think most people right now, one of the biggest criticisms is that with an electric vehicle, you have to pay so much money up front. I don't think electric vehicles are holding people back based on their price tag, because people have already proven they're willing to pay ridiculous amounts of money just to get what they want. Like, it's just like when I look at these stickers on these SRT vehicles that are still being made, people are paying $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 over for these things. People have the money, or they have the ability to finance, and they're willing to agree to these ridiculous monthly payments. What I really believe is that a lot of people who are buying these electric vehicles, they're not doing it because they're ultimately, how should I say, saving money on the vehicle. They're basically doing it because they want a new vehicle, and these electric cars are more exciting than gasoline cars. Because when I really think about it, like for example, I have a friend who got a Jeep Grand Cherokee 4xe. Now, as you know, I've had enough of Stellantis and I'm disgusted with their service quality at this point. So I'm not buying any more Chrysler products. I've had 8 Chrysler products. I'm not buying any more, as far as I know. So I'm taking my money over to Cadillac. But anyway, my friend's Jeep 4xe, it's not fully loaded. She doesn't have the massage seats, doesn't have the cooled seats, but she does have the passenger television screen. She also doesn't have the air suspension lifter. But the thing about it is that was a $65,000 truck, which the fully loaded version would have been $75,000. So that's $5,000 more than I'll be paying for my Cadillac Lyriq, right? Now, because of the fact that I have a nice trade-in value, my Jeep SRT is worth about $30,000, give or take 1,000. And then I also have cash. And the reality is that if I really wanted to, if I got tired of waiting, which I'm trying to be patient, I could go to BMW and I could get an iX lease, the BMW iX. I actually like that truck. It's a very spacious, big, it's, I wouldn't say fun to drive, but it's definitely a good driver. Or I could go and I could get the Mercedes EQS SUV, or I could get a Mercedes EQS, but I wouldn't get the EQS because it's too small. If the EQS had been the size of the Mercedes S-Class, I'd have it sitting in my driveway right now. But they really screwed up with that car. What they should have done was they should have done what BMW did with the i7. They should have made an electric i7 and a gas-powered i7, and that would have been perfect. Mercedes could have had an electric S-Class and a gas-powered S-Class. That would have been perfect, but it's not. So the reality is, these things are coming. People have the money. People are willing to spend the money. People are willing to finance. People are willing to lease, whatever it takes. That said, the Lithium Triangle is going to gain attention, and it's going to gain a lot of mining attention. So that means that if you're invested in mining companies that are going to the Lithium Triangle, and I've given you names of the mining companies of the stocks I owned. I told you about these things a long time ago. So what I'm going to do is I'm also going to quickly go over it right now since I'm not making this video very long. But the bottom line is, you got to get in on the ground floor. It's just like with the oil stocks. By getting in on the ground floor, I was buying these shares for what? $1.50, $1.90, Silicon, what was it? SLCA, SM, TTI, NBE. It was like back then, 2020, when everything went negative, all the oil stocks went negative. Yeah, it was really easy to buy them like that in bulk. And then I sold them a little off from the high, but I had gained a significant amount of income from those things. So my recommendation is focusing on lithium mining and basically focusing on South American electric vehicle related stock. One of the things that really, really annoys me about the internet, especially when it comes to these fake crypto gurus and these fakes that are on YouTube with these paid advertisements, that everybody basically has to say that I'm not giving financial advice. They have to basically say that as as a caveat to what they're saying. The unfortunate thing is that most people from the outside looking in, regardless if you say it or not, they are going to assume that you're giving financial advice and they're going to probably take it. So these were the main lithium stocks that I purchased a long time ago. As you can see, these are the symbols for these things. Now, the one that is right now the highest is ALB. Now, ALB is $281 right now, and that is up from its 52-week low of $169. Now, if you look at ALB, we'll just look at ALB. You can look at the rest yourself. If you were to look at the chart for ALB over the last 5 years, you can clearly see that where I bought into it when I first told you about lithium stocks, It's way up from where I bought into it. Now, I have no intention of selling anytime soon because I already recognize that over the next couple of years, moving towards 2030, that as lithium becomes more and more mined and prevalent, these stocks are going to the moon. Like, that's the easiest way I could say it. They're going to the moon. So, the choice is yours. It's like a lot of people constantly ask me, oh, well, where should I be? Because see, here's the problem. You're not buying a house right now. These houses are way too expensive and the interest rates are way too high. So there's no real estate move that you're making right now. I'm fortunate because I made real estate moves when I could before the pandemic. And what I can say is that now you've got to start focusing on how are you going to get dividend payments, or how are you going to make your money work for you in the near future? Or I should say the long off future, because some people, they're trying to build up retirements, this, that, and other. If you don't understand the stock market, there's always mutual funds and there's annuities. For people who don't really understand the stock market, they don't want to watch these numbers go up and down every day. Mutual funds and annuities, index funds can be good, but as you saw from Kathy Wood, you can go into an index fund that loses a lot of money very quickly. Kathy Wood picked horrible stocks, and she made her bets on Bitcoin. Had she been me, she never would have bet on Bitcoin. But, she's not me. So everything she purchased, pretty much, she lost so much money that the only way that she could make you a millionaire is if you started out a billionaire. That's how much money she lost. So index funds, they have their bright spots, but the downside is they can go bad real quick too. So my recommendation is and it's funny because they've actually done scientific studies and they show the average person was able to pick stocks just as well as the average broker was able to. And that's because it really wasn't that difficult. What people do is they pick stocks of companies they understand from products they buy, which makes perfect sense. So ultimately, that's just what it is. So basically, that's all I wanted to talk about. I just wanted to basically talk about what LUCID did this week. And I just wanted to mention to you the Lithium Triangle for those of you who didn't know anything about it.